Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, unable to move, feeling like someone is watching you? When your body is paralyzed, but your mind is completely alert, that's when you face the phenomenon many secretly refer to as sleep paralysis. But sometimes, the things that happen in those moments go beyond simple fears. Terrifying images, ghostly whispers, and shadows that disturb you make you wonder, is it just a dream or something else? In today's video, we will explore 5 horrifying stories of people who have experienced sleep paralysis. These chilling, unbelievable experiences will haunt you long after. Get ready, because you may not want to sleep alone after watching. Story 1. The noise and the smile next to Daniel, a 24-year-old guy, woke up after a dreamy slumber. He became aware of his immobile body, feeling the familiar rigidity of the phenomenon of darkness. The room was pitch dark, with only a faint light from the street lamp filtering through the window then. A strange sound echoed from the closet in the corner of the room. At first, it was just a small clattering, like metal rubbing against each other, but the sound quickly became clearer, resembling the electronic voice of a machine with his heart pounding. Daniel tried to turn, but in vain. Through the slightly ajar closet door, he saw a pale, thin face. That face looked unnatural, with wide white eyes and a smile stretched ear to ear. That face stared straight at Daniel, and then, as if the whole closet was shifting directions, it moved closer to the bed. Daniel wanted to scream, but couldn't. The musty smell wafting from the closet grew stronger. Bang! The windows slammed shut. The apartment was plunged into absolute silence. Daniel felt as if he had just escaped from a living dream. He sprang up, gasping for breath, his body finally liberated. Without hesitation, Daniel rushed out of the room to his parents' room. "There's something in the closet," he panted. His dad took a flashlight, and all 3 went back to Daniel's room. When they opened the closet, it was just clothes and a few old trinkets inside, but the dampness still lingered. Daniel did not sleep in that room that night, and that closet, although no longer with a face peering out, remained silent whenever he recalled it. Story 2. Mother's appearance. Jonathan, a college senior, had spent many sleepless nights preparing for the final exams. Exhausted, he quickly fell asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow. Yet, his sleep was not peaceful. He woke up in a strange state, feeling as if something heavy was pressing down on him. His whole body was numb, unable to move. Only his eyes could faintly glance around the dark room. The cold air sent shivers down his spine. And then, he saw her in the center of the room, despite wearing a long, shiny dress. There she was. She held something that looked like an antique comb. Jonathan tried to scream, but his throat constricted. Not producing any sound, the woman approached him. Her silhouette gently passed through the dim light from the window, highlighting a familiar face. It was his mother. Jonathan's heart raced in his chest. She knelt beside him, softly stroking his forehead. Her hand was cold but full of love. Jonathan tried to yell, but only a sweet sound echoed in his head. The woman looked at him, her eyes containing something like a message, then stood up. She turned away and walked toward the door. As her figure faded, Jonathan felt his body return to normal. He sprang up and shouted, "Mom! Mom!" His voice echoed throughout the silent house. The bedroom door burst open, and his father rushed in, a worried look on his face. "Jonathan, what's wrong, son?" "Mom, I saw Mom. She was here, right in my room," Jonathan said, panting, sweat pouring down him. His father stood still, his gaze dropping. He hugged Jonathan tightly, his voice shaking. I miss your mother so much too." The room fell silent again. Jonathan remembered that his mother had died in a car accident just 3 weeks earlier. But tonight, her presence felt so real, the warmth from her touch, the gentle gaze that seemed to protect him, all made Jonathan understand that his mother was still watching over him, loving him and guarding him, even when she was no longer here. Story 3: The Head Falls. Brian woke up in thick darkness, which felt heavy, as if weighed down by a stone. The room was cold and quiet, and the air felt thick, making it hard for him to breathe. Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoed from the wardrobe opposite the bed. The laughter was not loud but vivid, as if someone was deliberately trying to suppress madness impossible. Brian filled in his mind. He tried to turn over, but was helpless, his eyes wide open and glued to the wardrobe door. Then, unexpectedly, a sound arose. Brian froze as he sensed a heavy object falling near him. He lowered his eyes and realized it was a human head, an unfamiliar face from the past. It was Lisa, the girl he had liked back in high school. The eyes of the head stared up at him, wide open, its mouth curling into a strange smile, blood dripping down onto him. Brian tried to scream, but no sound came out. The head laughed, louder, the echoing laughter filling the room in a state of extreme horror. Brian suddenly regained his senses. He bolted upright, his breath cold and sharp, realizing everything had vanished: the head, the laughter, and the chilling dread. But when his gaze landed on the wardrobe, the door was slightly ajar, revealing only pitch-black darkness inside, and from deep within, it felt as if there was still an eye watching him. Story 4: The Strange Family. I woke up early in the morning, my body stiff, unable to move. The faint light of dawn filtered through the window crack, enough for me to realize I was leaning against a bare wall. A chilling sensation ran vertically down my spine. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from the stairs, the sound seeming to reverberate from a distant place. I recognized each member of my family. First was my older brother, then my younger sister, Dad, and Mom. But what was strange was that they did not look like they usually did. Those coming up the stairs had an upscale appearance, so tall that they nearly touched the ceiling. Their faces emerged in the dim light, their eyes empty yet profound, as if they were looking through me. Tears streamed down their faces, but they did not say a word. I wanted to scream, to call out to them, but my throat. They approached my bed, standing silently and leaning down to look at me, their faces oddly gaunt. I longed for everything to be just a dream. But when I opened my eyes, they had turned away, walking down the stairs, their heavy footsteps fading. I tried to get out of bed to follow them, but when I got downstairs, the house was again engulfed in silence. I ran into each room to check. My mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister, they were all sleeping soundly in their beds, as if nothing had happened. I felt anything but strong for many days after that, until one morning, while crossing the street, I was struck directly by a speeding car. The world around me went dark. When I woke up, I found myself lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by my family: Dad, Mom, brother, and sister. But the second thing next to me was their image. All stood still, unexpectedly tall, their spirits drenched in tears, their gazes resembling the gloom of that night. I realized the moment was not a dream, but a warning. But I had to live on, because this time they did not turn away again. Story number 5: The Demon in the Brush. That night, after a heavy evening of drinking, I stumbled home, fell onto my bed, and drifted off. In a foggy dream, I only remember sinking into a heavy sleep, void of dreams. Enveloped in darkness suddenly, I woke up. It was pitch black all around, with only a dim light coming through the window. I tried to move, but my whole body felt compressed, stiff, unable to lift even a finger. A chilling sensation ran through me in the total silence. An odd noise echoed from outside. It sounded like the rustling coming from the bushes in front of the house, a sound I had faintly heard before entering the house tonight. But this time, it didn't stop. It grew louder, clearly increasing, as if something was approaching in terrifying fear. My gaze darted around the room, and then I looked down at the foot of the bed. My heart kept pounding. A grotesque head was floating in the air. Its skin was smooth, wrinkled like rotten bark, with bright red eyes shining in the darkness. The wide mouth gaped open, revealing gnarled teeth. As if it were grinning menacingly, it moved closer, slithering toward me, getting nearer and nearer. I wanted to scream, wanted to thrash about, but my body wouldn't obey. Only when the demon's face was right in front of mine, its cold breath against my skin, did I feel like I was about to lose my mind. And then, suddenly, I bolted upright, drenched in sweat, panting as if I had just escaped a nightmare. I turned on the lights, checked the entire apartment, looked out the window. But there was nothing, no one, not a trace. I stood there, shivering in the faint yellow light. But from afar, from the bushes outside, the rustling sound echoed once again. This time, it didn't stop.